All right, humans of the cardboard, we are at it again with another deck profile. This is probably my final Magnificent Mavens profile for the time being. As far as the stuff that I thought like actually had legit relevancy to the decks it was supporting. But Madolche, we're here. I really think the Ishizu cards do a nice job supporting. Madolche's, they also got a nice new card from Darkwing Blast and some other stuff as well. So we'll get into it. I've seen this deck actually seeing a little bit of play out there. We saw it actually have a little bit of success at the recent YCS in Dortmund. Although, to be fair, I don't think those versions were played perfectly as well as built perfectly. I just have some key fundamental differences with some of the lists that were proposed there. Just some of the cards they were playing just seemed a little bit over the top, a little bit extra greedy. But this is a more streamlined version, I think. And I think it really can perform well. It has a couple of really nice like matchup pieces going into the metagame. So without further ado, let's just jump into this thing. Starting off, of course, with the most important engine in the deck. It's the Madolche engine. You start off with triple Angeli. This is the one card starter in the deck. It's amazing. One copy of Madolche Hootcake. You actually could play Hootcake at a higher count. The only problem with Hootcake is he's level 3. If he was actually level 4, I might just max out on him because him plus a Vernusylph is so nice. And also just like him with any way to put a monster in grave like is combo as well. So, you know, it's just weird that he's level 3, but like you still have to play him for the combo lines. So you still have to have him there. Double copies of Madolche Petting Sasur. This card can come up as an extender at times, but normally it's just a piece that's a part of the combo, but not a terrible card to draw. And then double copies of Messengelato and one copy of Pudding Cess rounding out the bricks. Messengelato is definitely like a travesty. Like, we'd love to not have to play this card at all, but not only do you have to play one, but you want to resolve 2 searches off him in your turn 1 combo. So you kind of have to play 2 of him and Pudding Cess, but luckily they are still Earth. So like Vernusylph's relatively unbrick these, and even Keldo and Mudora also even more so with Pudding Cess because she's an Earth fairy. She's very easy to like get out of the hand, so it's not too big of a deal there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Madolche engine. I know it looks weird that this is like so small and streamlined, but trust me, it'll all make sense once we explain the rest of the deck. Moving on from there, we're going to show off the Vernusylph package, triple copies of Misting Seedlings, triple copies of Flourishing Hills, and then I play 1 copy of Awakening Forest and 1 copy of Thawing Mountains as well. So if you don't know how the Vernusylphs work, they are a new archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! They can pitch themselves with any other Vernusylph card or monster to do something, and then at the end of their effect, they reborn any Earth monster from your graveyard, which is really good. And it doesn't even like negate the effects. Their only lock is that you can't activate monster effects that aren't Earth until the end of the turn. So that's the only restriction, but you can still summon them. You just can't activate them, so it's not even that bad. But yeah, these are all like phenomenal extenders. Misting Seedling searches any Earth Fairy in the game, so that includes Angeli, so that's why we have like added consistency there. Flourishing Hills searches another Vernusylph card, so normally you're just searching Misting Seedlings if you didn't have it already. And then Awakening Forest dumps any Earth monster from deck to grave to get like Keldo or Mudora set up. And then Thawing Mountains gives you the ability to just draw a card. So all of these are good in rotation. All of these are good to get going. They all get you, like, they all just like really supplement what the deck is already doing so well, because the whole deck is Earth, and you get a ton of extra like combos and ability to play through Interruption because of those cards. They are very, very good. Moving on from there, we move to the Earth Fairy lineup, or I guess the Ishizu Fairy lineup. Triple copies of Mudora to start that off. 2 copies of Keldo and 1 copy of Kelbeck. You don't have to go that hard on these. These are definitely the most important ones, just because you can pitch them with Vernusylphs, and they can pitch with themselves to like get on the field. And so it's not that hard to like get them in rotation. And we actually take advantage of Mudora's effect the most here. Being able to search you Gravekeeper's Trap is really, really nice. But yeah, you got to play the Kelbeck because you want to have that 1 hand trap to be able to search off on the opponent's turn and use it. But otherwise, like, these are just really, really solid cards, and they pair really nicely with the deck because we play like what is that? So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 plus 8, so 20 plus the 6 here. We play like Oh, no, I counted these. So 20, we play at least 20 Earth Fairies in the deck, so it's very, very consistent in opening them up with another Earth Fairy. Moving on from there. Hand trap lineup. Triple copies of Herald of the Orange Light. This card is too live and too good with the Ishizu Fairies not to play. Triple copies of Effect Veiler. This card's pretty good as well, but it's more of like a middling range card. Double copies of Magnamut, and the one drew is where I'm rounding out the actual hand traps there, along with Kelbeck, so there's technically 10 total in the main. Bestials, the deck doesn't really lock you out of anything on the opponent's turn, so Bestials are really just there because they're just so good in the metagame right now, but I also felt like a 2-1 ratio isn't breaking the bank here. It's not overdoing it with Bestials, so we're not bricking on them too much, and if we play a matchup where it's not great against, it's only 3 cards, easy side out, not a big deal. These are cool. Veiler's kind of like the, it hits everything. It's not amazingly strong, but at any time, but it is like pretty decent versus Flunder. It's going to be okay versus Tier. It's going to be okay versus anything, but it's not like amazing, but it's also not once per turn, so keep that in mind when we talk about the extra deck. And then Orange Light, also not once per turn, but also being like a protective hand trap, while also one that attacks your opponent at the same time is really, really nice. And plus, like, one of the problems with, like, a Ishizu Tier is that, like, if you open Orange Light with, like, out another fairy, or you have to, like, Orange Light with a second Orange Light, you just kind of go pretty neg. Whereas in this deck, you've got, like, triple Angeli, 4, 5, 6, plus 8 is 14, plus 6 of these is 20. We played 23 fairies overall in the main deck, so you are so consistently seeing it live. It's almost like never dead. The only other going second card I play in the main is Sphere Mode. This is definitely one that I wouldn't be opposed to moving to the side. It's not that important, though, with like Mudora and Kaldo extending from hand, all the Vernusylphs getting you the ability to pretty much summon anything. Your deck can definitely play with that. It's normal. So having access to this to like just beat a board and then try to set up something in their face is like really, really strong. I would throw this out there, just a little disclaimer. If you have access to Cash Tier of Fenrir, I would definitely play this in this slot. In fact, I would almost venture into playing the idea of like double Fenrir 1 Unicorn, because there's a 2-card combo I'll show you at the end of the video that ends you on like a really cool board that you wouldn't usually expect with like this deck. That's a pretty common to get to 2-card combo. Speaking of which, being able to get you to anything, double copies of Pot of Prosperity. 3 seems a little overkill. You never really want to resolve more than one of this in a duel anyway. So it's just really good though. Like your extra deck is important, but only like half of it really comes up most of the time. So you have a lot of free slots to be able to banish off this. Not a big deal, and especially post side too. Finding going first or going second cards is really nice. And then for our engine searchable spells and traps, Chateau, Promenade, Gravekeeper's Trap, all amazing in their own right. Chateau is actually the most broken thing the deck does. This card shuffles any Madolche monsters in grave back into the deck when it's activated. That's part of the combo. It gives a 500 boost on Madolche monsters. Very nice to help OTK and run over stuff. But the other big thing is that if a monster in your graveyard is returned to the would be returned to the deck by a Madolche monster's effect, like Glass Souffle, you can actually return those monsters to hand. By the way, that doesn't say Madolche monsters. It's any monster that would be returned. So this card just adds like 2 monsters from grave to hand like every turn. It's insane. Promenade, just a really good backbone part of like your end boards. This is like a blank any one thing in the game. That's a really, really crucial. It means we're not losing to Evenly. We're not losing to Lightning Storm, stuff like that. This card is hitting any one of those and then allowing your real disruptions to handle like your opponent's actual pushes. And then Gravekeeper's Trap, really important card. It's not even that bad to draw, but you know, it just does all the small things, like getting a search of any Earth Fairy every single turn is actually really good, especially when you're like pitching Keldos and Mudoras for it. But like even if you're not doing that, like it's searching Angeli on your turn, 1-card combo. It's searching the Vernusylph to help you extend, or it's searching like Kelbeck on the opponent's turn to just be a hand trap. Right, an extra interruption. So this card's just so good, plus like the small stuff like letting you see your opponent's draw every turn, potentially fading it if you call the right card, is pretty nice. So definitely a good card, definitely have to play it in this deck. What I love is that Madolche is the core of the deck, but the Vernusylph search it. They have 6 different cards that search you Angeli, 1-card combo, and then You have Keldo, which searches Mudora, and Mudora, which gets you Gravekeeper's Trap, which again, without normal summon, searches you into Angeli. So I love that the engines kind of pull you back into your main strategy you begin with, and that's how you're able to make up for what might look like a lack of consistency. It's actually very, very consistent. So they're moving into the extra deck for the Madolche stuff. Triple Glass Souffle, double Tiramisu, double Chocolate Isle Mode, and double Sistart. There's really not too much craziness going on here. Glass Souffle is insane. It's a quick effect to like make detach and make any Madolche monster you control unaffected by your opponent's like activated monster effects on the field, which is pretty good. Tiramisu, a non-targeting shuffle 2 cards back into the deck, which is insane. This card allows you to just actually win duels. Like you shuffle 2 things back and then you go battle phase and you just win. Chocolate Isle Mode, part of the combo mostly, and then same thing with Fresh Sistart, part of your end board that gives you protection to like some of your Madolche stuff. Chateau is so crucial, but the fact that this card gives Chateau a nice little piece of protection makes it a little bit harder for your opponent to work around. So I like it. Plus, once you resolve Petting Sasor's effect, you're locked into Madolches, and you end with just like an awkward 3 and 4 on the field. So you have to kind of link those into something. So that's why you just end up with Sistart. But yeah. Really good there for some generic Exceeds. 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, 1 Baguska, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Gaga Cowboy, and the 1 Zeus. Going over these, like Dweller, great against decks that are like play similarly to Tier, but mostly Tier. Just make this first Tier, you win. Baguska, better versus stuff like Sprite as well as Fluanderees. For sure, just being that like pretty much just floodgate skill drain kind of guy on field. Tornado Dragon for decks that are more like, I would say more like Eldritch, or you know what I mean, those like back row decks. Like Flunder kind of plays like a control-y back row deck, but it's way more monster heavy than you would think. So Tornado Dragon being able to handle decks like Labyrinth or Eldritch and stuff like that can definitely be super nice for sure. Gaga Cowboy, that's for just beating over stuff that's 3,000 or lower. I swear, that's definitely what it's for. And then Zeus, yeah, it's an Exceed deck, so you gotta play Zeus. Why would you not play Zeus? And the final card in the extra is Asa. Specifically, if you play the Kashtira cards, like being able to steal your opponent's Fenrir from grave and then activate it to search your own Kashtira card is pretty spicy, but also trying to hit like bait out their Mudoras and Keldos before you have to like play into it is really nice. Like, I don't know, like long story short, this deck gets to play like the Bestials as well as the Ishizu fairies without being quite as weak to them, especially Bestials. This deck really does not care about Bestials at all. Mudora and Keldo can still be annoying at times, but I don't know, if you're comparing it to like how hard those 2 engines hit Tier versus how hard the decks hit this deck, they're probably like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 versus Madolche overall, but like they're like a 10 out of 10 versus them. So I guess in this deck you just care about it a little bit less, and that's really, really nice. So let me show you a quick little combo. We're gonna have to use our imagination a little bit here. Let's say we just have Misting Seedlings, the Vernusylph paired with, and let's call this Kashtira Fenrir, and the other one will be Unicorn when we search it. So starting off here, well, let me raise this up a little bit, make this a little bit easier to do. Yeah, that's fine. We don't have to see too much. So we'll start off by using Misting Seedling, or I'm sorry, we're gonna summon Fenrir, right? Just special Fenrir, summon him over here, it's fine. We'll use the effect and we'll actually search Unicorn because we want another, once per turn, so we can get both on the field. We'll use both of these. That's one of the really good aspects of Fenrir if you do play it, is like it searches you another earth monster, which is just fodder for the Vernusylph, so it makes for like really efficient like Vernusylph plays. So you're able to pitch these. We're going to go ahead and search an Earth Fairy, which is Angeli, and then we will reborn the Unicorn. So now we already have Unicorn plus Fenrir on the field, which is really, really huge. If our opponent uses any monster hand trap while we're trying to play, we're going to not only potentially banish something if they end up with a monster on field, but we're also going to be able to hit something from their extra deck as well, which would be crucial versus Tier being able to hit like Kit Kalos before they even get to their turn 1 is huge. But yeah, so then I'll show you the Madolche combo real quick. You normal summon Angeli, you tribute her to go ahead and special summon Petting. Petting's effect will summon another Madolche out of the deck, but locks you into Madolche's monsters for the rest of the turn. we'll go ahead and get Pudding Cess, but it's level 4 now because of Petting's effect. We'll overlay for Glass Souffle. Glass Souffle, we need to detach something, get a name engrave already here. So we're just going to detach Petting anyway, just to get it engrave. And then from here, we're able to overlay for Chocolate a la Mode. This is one where I do it in the EMZ. It just makes more sense that way, especially if you clog both zones with the Fenrir, with the Kashtira play. So we're going to summon Chocolate a la Mode. We're going to use her effect to just target a Madolche engrave and shuffle it into the deck. We'll just target the Angeli. Once we shuffle that, it'll trigger a la Mode's other effect, where if a Madolche monster is returned to the deck, you can detach a material to then special a Madolche from the deck. So we'll detach the Glass Souffle and we'll special summon Hoot Cake. We'll use Hoot Cake's effect immediately. We'll banish the Petting engrave to go ahead and special again. We'll get our Messin Gelato. His effect will trigger to go ahead and search us a card. That's going to go ahead and search us the Madolche Chateau. This is very important because I mentioned this earlier. The effect of Madolche Chateau to shuffle all Madolche's engrave back into the deck because it triggers Chocolate a la Mode again, which, by the way, we're going to activate the Chateau. Just pretend that's up there activating. We'll shuffle back the Glass Souffle engrave, and then we'll be able to trigger the Chocolate a la Mode again. Again, keeping in mind you're leaving the Pudding Cess attached as material all the way until the very end because we just don't want to be screwed over that way. But we'll be able to trigger that again, and we'll special one more time a Messin Gelato from deck. He's not once per turn, so we'll trigger him again, and we will go ahead and grab ourselves the Promenade. So then from here, we're able to overlay 2 level 4s, your 2 Messin Gelatos for another Glass Souffle. Then we're going to go ahead and you have to sequence this right, by the way. Make the Glass Souffle first, because she says if any Madolche card is sent to the graveyard, she can do the effect where she targets 2 monsters engraved, actually cards engraved, and shuffles them back into the deck. So we're going to go ahead and link for the Sistart. I'd love to make Asa in some scenarios like this, or maybe like an IP, but unfortunately we're locked into Madolche's because we use Petting. So we'll go ahead and we'll link these 2 off, which then triggers Glass Souffle to target 2 monsters engrave and add them back to hand. I think it's usually just best to grab Seedlings and Hoot Cake. Remember, they're coming back to the hand because we have Chateau up. And then we're going to set the Promenade and pass. So just off of that 2-card combo, we've got Glass Souffle for the double shuffle. You've got Promenade. Oh, sorry, I forgot I think I have to detach for the shuffle effect here. Oh, no, never mind. I only detached for the first effect. So this is already an annoying monster because it's going to be 3,000 defense because of Sistart, and it's actually, I think it's going to be 35. Oh, no, that doesn't buff him. Never mind. It's 3,000 defense because of Chateau. It's protected from fresh Sistart as well. She can make herself a towers from your opponent's monster effects on the field. You have the double shuffle, which can hit your opponent's stuff, or it could add stuff from back from grave. And for an example, when you use either something like Herald of Orange Light or Veiler, they're non-once per turn hand traps, so you could fire them, and then on your opponent's turn, use Glass Souffle to add them back to hand and just fire them again. It's really, really powerful. Also, Promenade, protecting you from like whatever the one scariest card your opponent uses against you is, as well as a extra deck banish that you also might have used on your opponent's turn if they tried to hand trap you at any point. So you might have 2 extra deck banishes, like Kaleido Heart and Kit Callus just gone for the whole duel. Okay. You're the buy. And then also like Fenrir, just a solid interruption in and of himself. And these guys are also just big. Like you have a ton of damage already here. This is 24 plus 24, 48, right? Isn't Unicorn 24? He actually might be 25. I can't remember, but they're around 5,000. We'll call it 48 because I don't remember exactly what it is. Plus 2,000 with Chateau, so 68. Plus another 23 is 81? No, 91. 9,100 damage. So really, really easy. And plus that doesn't even include the fact that we already have like a guaranteed play into Tiramisu to remove anything off the field so that we can just easily OTK. It's a really, really solid deck. That's just one of the bread and butter combos. I know it looks a little better if you play these. If you don't play these, like obviously it's not quite as menacing, but I still gave you like the basic Madolche combo combined in there, which hopefully would also show you guys like a good like baseline combo to like get started with here if you want to mess around with the deck. But all in all, that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think about Madolche? Like, from what you've seen, either in the tournaments that have been happening recently or just from online stuff, do you really think they have legs, or do you think people are just coping when they say that Madolche is like actually a player? I really think it can play. I think it just needs to be in the right hands, and I think it needs to be built the right way. I really like this version. It's streamlined. We're not playing a lot of extra stuff. I've seen people play Salon. I just don't think it's like really doing enough. It's kind of just a brick. Another one of the Madolche bricks, and I want to play as few as possible. We're literally playing like the bare minimum in this list, because you have to play Pudding Cess, otherwise petting is garbage. You have to play Messenger Lotto for the double search, otherwise you're not getting enough value off your combo. And then both of these are just the 2 search targets. So like we're playing bare minimum that you can. And I think it's working out pretty nicely here. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. One more thing I want to add. Shout out to Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. I meant to mention this at the beginning of the video, but I forgot to. This list was definitely definitely influenced by him for sure. Shout out to him. This list is not that different from his. There's a couple of key differences. Ratios and stuff like that I messed around with. But mostly it's very similar to his. I already had this deck kind of like started in theory. I thought like it made a lot of sense. And then when I saw his video, I was like, oh, you know what? These ratios do make more sense than what I had theorized originally. So shout out to him. He definitely had some good influence on me here. But yeah, I just want to give that justice where it's due. So yeah, I'm out of here for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Like I said, let me know your thoughts on the build down below. I love getting your guys' input on that and seeing what we can change around to make it work. But yeah, that's it for me today. I love you. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.